Hey everybody, Ryan here at etrailer. Today on our 2017 Honda Fit, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Roadmaster fuse bypass switch. There's going to be 5 main components needed to flat tow your Honda Fit. You're going to have the base plate, which a base plate is going to provide us with a solid connection point. That way we can hook our tow bar up to it. That tow bar is going to be the second thing that we're going to need. So the tow bar is going to be the link in between the front of our Honda and the back of our motorhome. The third thing will be safety cables. And these are going to be used as a backup device in the event of a catastrophic disconnect. These are going to keep your Honda attached to the back of your motorhome. Fourth thing is going to be tow bar wiring. So the wiring is going to transfer all of the necessary lighting functions from the back of your motorhome to the back of your Honda. That way you're not only safe, but legal as well. And last but not least is the braking system. So the braking system is going to apply the brakes in your Honda whenever you hit the brakes in your motorhome. So that way it's going to bring you to a more safe and predictable stop, and you're really going to help reduce any wear and tear on the motorhome, because with the braking system, your motorhome isn't solely responsible to do all the stopping. Whenever you want to flat tow your Honda Fit, it is going to be required that you remove some fuses, and that's where the Roadmaster FuseMaster is going to come into play. Now, this isn't required, but it does make life a lot more convenient and simple every time you do want to flat tow. So as opposed to getting underneath the dash and pulling those fuses out every time, then having to worry about reinstalling them whenever you're done towing, with the FuseMaster, all you're going to have to do is simply push a button. It's labeled, that way you know which position the switch is in, and it's really straightforward. Whenever you just want to drive the Honda around, flip it up into the drive position, and whenever you're ready to tow, push it into that towed position. So overall, this is just one of them simple things that's often overlooked, but does make your life a lot easier, as opposed to crawling under the dash, especially at nighttime, trying to handle these small fuses and getting them put into the right location. You're just going to have to flip that switch and be on your way. Now, as far as the installation goes, it's really not too bad. I'd say the worst part is having to work underneath the dash. But once you get it installed, you're going to be glad you're not going to have to deal with that again. Speaking of which, let's go ahead and hook it up together now. To begin our install, what I like to do is prep our FuseMaster. And what I mean by that is if you look up here where our wires connect to the switch, since we're going to have to pull these off, what I like to do is just kind of mark them. And so on one side with the black connector here, I put a white mark on the connector and a white mark on the plastic, yellow mark on the red, yellow mark on the plastic, and that just lets me know that I'll have everything in the correct and same orientation whenever we put it back together. But with that being said, we can pull these off of the switch. These can be a little tight, so you can kind of just work it carefully back and forth until it pulls off. So I'll do the same thing to get all of the connectors undone. Now we can move over to our fuse block and locate the fuses that we need to more or less tap into. So they're going to be on the driver's side, underneath the dash, right here in this area. So here's our fuse block, and the fuses that we need to pull out will be number 36 and 37. That's going to be for the accessories. It's going to be very top right, this 20 amp right here, and right below it, this 7.5 amp fuse. So those are the two that we're going to need to pull out and be working with. So I'll grab a pair of needle nose and get those removed. Now before we put this in, just to kind of clear up a couple things, since we do have 2 fuse holders, I just want to point out which one's going to be for which set of wires. So the first one here, closest to the ends that are silver, this is going to be for our black wires. So what I did is just use that paint pen again, put a white mark on there just to help keep everything straight. Second fuse holder, it's going to be for our red wires, and again, I just put a yellow mark on there, help keep it all organized. But with that being said, what we are going to do is plug in our black wires to the fuse position 36, which will be our 20 amp fuse. And the red ends we're going to plug into 37, which will be our 7.5 amp fuse. And the way these work is these just more or less act as the fuse, and you just push each side of the pen into the fuse block. So this is what it looks like once we have it all plugged into our fuse block. With it plugged in, now we can find a good spot to mount up our switch. So right here, on the bottom of our panel here is a good spot to mount the switch. There's nothing behind it and it's easy to get to. So I went ahead and put a dot there. And what we're going to do is drill. I'm going to use a step bit, and I'll check it along the way to make sure that we have it large enough for our switch to fit through. And if you take the lock nut off, you can push it through. So it seems like it's big enough. I'll just have to come in with a utility knife or something and kind of clean up that plastic edge. That way it'll clean up our look and fit nice and smooth. So now that we know our switch fits in the hole that we created, we take the nut off the back of the switch. We'll put this over the wires. I'm just going to kind of carefully feed the wires through a little ways. Then we're just going to hook them up to the switch in that same orientation. And this is why I mark them. That way I don't have any doubts on where I think the terminals need to go. With it all connected, we can put the switch into position. And on the back side of it, we're going to slide up that nut and tighten it down. That way we don't have to worry about that switch moving around. Now we can put our fuses in the correct holders. Now I do want to mention the fuses that go in our FuseMaster are a different style than the factory ones that we removed. The factory ones are smaller in size, and these are a little bigger. So the ones that you're going to need to use are called mini fuses, just like this. That being said, we'll go ahead and push them into position and close up the cap. Then we can kind of tuck our wiring off to the side. That way it's a little more secure. So now we can do a quick test to make sure it's working properly. So if you come to an accessory port here, I'm just going to plug in this little device. Turn the car in the accessory position. As you can see, it's lighting up, so we know it's getting power. Now, if I flip the switch down, we lose power, and we know it's working properly. So again, another example, we flip the switch back up in that position, we'll regain power. And now that we know it's working properly and we've identified the switch's orientation, we can take the stickers that come included and put them in the correct position of the switch. So in our case, with the switch depressed up top, that's the drive mode. And when you're ready to flat toe, flip it down, and The sticker lets us know we're in that position. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Roadmaster fuse bypass switch on our 2017 Honda Fit.